Hi, it's Charles from Beyond Tools, and we're here today to talk about our new Ultra 5-in-1 combination machine that we just finished unpacking. As you can see, it's still on the pallet, but we've unpacked it and assembled it, and we're just going to run through a few of the features for it. It's the CM254. From that you can gather it's got a 254 millimeter main blade, single blade. It's got a 1300 sliding capacity sliding table. We have a 500 millimeter rip fence here. We've currently got the machine set up with all the features showing, but obviously when you do use this machine, you're only using one feature at a time. So we'll run through just quickly taking off the different assemblies that come with the machine. So when you are using your combination machine, for instance, so your combination machine, because it is 5 machines in one, which is a table saw, spindle molder, planer and a thicknesser, and then on the back we've got a mortiser. It means that you do have all these different accessories on there. So for instance, we've got the accessory fence for your spindle molder, which we can remove. We also have the fence for the combination planer thicknesser, so we can remove that as well. And the handles can screw off, we can undo those for the mortise unit. So one thing to bear in mind with a combination machine is to change from one function to another, it isn't quick. It does take a bit of time, but obviously what you save from having a combination machine is you save on space because you don't have separate machines, you've got an all-in-one. Does mean it just takes a little bit longer when changing from one function to another. So for instance, you'd remove this bracket here, and then that would allow you to use your full rip fence capacity. We've got a miter fence on here, and also another miter fence on the front here, where you can do your different angles. Changing from planer to thicknesser mode is much like a conventional 2-in-1 machine. So as you can see, we take off your fence, and then we can loosen off the table, open that up. Same with on this side, open that up. You can see it's got a spiral cutter block, 4-row, and using our spiral cutter technology, where you can easily just change your teeth around. They're carbide tipped blades, so you get a very long service life out of them, and you can rotate them 4 times. So when we flip that over, now we can use it in our planer mode, thicknesser mode, or joint or planer for the Americans. We have 180 mil height by 12 inches wide, 10 inches, 250 mil. And we can loosen off the handle here, move that up and down, and turning our feed rollers on and off is just done by this. So when we are using our thicknesser, we do obviously turn on our feed rollers, and it's also highly recommended to use a wax or like a candle wax on the table to make sure your timber goes through smoothly. Basically just get a unscented candle and squiggly lines on the table, and that will help the timber to slide nicely. So that's using your thicknesser. As you can see, obviously if we got our thicknesser set up, it's a little bit hard to use your saw unless you're just using part of it. So different functions, different features. So we can flip the table back over and return it to our standard mode, planing. We put our fence on, and then we need to obviously remove our rip fence. Now the mortising machine on the back here is driven off the thicknesser planer motor. So this machine has 3 motors, one for the saw, one for the spindle molder, one for the planer thicknesser. They're 1500 watts so 2 horsepower motors. This machine does require a 15 amp power supply, so you do need to make sure that you have a 15 amp, it's not a regular 10. But you've got your mortiser on the side here, and you've got a clamp to mortise it down, to clamp your material. You can also lift it up and down and drill your holes. If you didn't want to keep this on and you wanted to save a bit of space, you can easily undo the bolt on the bottom, loosen off these 2 bolts here, and you can remove that whole unit. So if you find that you are needing a little bit of extra space and you don't use your mortar so much, you can take that off. To run the machine, there is a bit of a sequence in running any combination machine. Obviously, because you have 3 separate motors, there's a sequence to turn it on. So you can see here we've got a diagram. So we've got a 3 selector rotary cam switch. So if we have it on the first, on this side here, you can see it's for our planer thicknesser. We leave the middle switch in the 0 position, and then we turn it on and off from our switch on the back there. There is also an emergency stop here, which we want to make sure is released. But to turn on our planer thicknesser is all controlled from the back here. So we got this switch here, that one there. So turning that on, there we go, and then that'll turn that on or off. Now while that's selected, our other switches won't work. This one's for our spindle moulder. So we'll come back around the side. If we wanted to use our spindle, we then select to this mode here, which is our saw spindle. And then you can select between saw or the spindle. So for instance, if we want the saw, flick that onto there and we use this switch. And that'll run. And to use our spindle moulder, come back around this side, and we'll turn that on from here. To adjust our height for the spindle moulder is quite easy. So we loosen off the lock here, and then we can wind that up or down. That will bring the spindle moulder through the table. It's a 30mm shaft for this, and then you do have a lot of different spaces and bushes, and you can put up to, I think it's 110mm wide cutter block on it. It does also have a spindle lock, so that means it just makes it a lot easier when you are changing your tool. So you push this lever in, it'll lock the spindle, then you can use your spanner to remove that, and then just make sure you always release it, give that a spin to make sure it's free, and away you go. For our table here, we can do miters from a couple of different positions. We can move our fence from here, or we can do them from this other miter fence on the back, and that can also be removed and come off quite easily. Our height for our panel or our table is up and down from here. So we can lift that up. And at full height, we get about 75mm cutting capacity. And then that's at 90 degrees. And then we also have 45 on the side here. So we can loosen that and we can tilt it over. We've got a little gauge on the side here, which will tell us when we're at the desired angle. And then we can lock that off as well. It's just a clamp just to hold it from coming loose. A few other things that the machine does come with is you do get a pack with about 5 spare cutters in it, some screws. You also get some inserts for your spindle moulder, so a blank for when you're not using a spindle, a bigger ring for your different diameter cutter with your keys to loosen it off. And then you also get a couple of feet to put it mounted onto and a push stick. And that's about it here with our new little combination machine, 5-in-1. This is a hobby grade machine, so it's not recommended for industrial use. It is for the end user hobbyist. But yeah, great little machine, nice heavy cast iron top. If you've got any questions, get in contact with us, send us a message, ask us any questions, and we'll see you around. Thank you.